Good afternoon. Welcome to the California Department of Education Summer Convening GED Testing Service session. I would like to welcome you. I am Debbie Fawcett. I'm a Senior Director with GED Testing Service, and I have the privilege of being the State Project Manager for the state of California. I manage California. I am your go-to person for all things GED. And I also nationally for GED Testing Service manage the Professional Development Initiative. Joining me today is my colleague, Brent Gerken. And I would like to make sure Brent has the opportunity to introduce himself now so that we can continue smoothly through the PowerPoint once we begin. Brent?
Hello, welcome. My name is Brent Gerken. I'm the operational manager for GED Testing Service. I manage the Tech Ops team, as you're maybe familiar with that name, but the great group of team members that help manage all the ins and outs of GED and make our company run smoothly. So I'm very privileged to work with Debbie here and the people from the California Department of Education as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. And for those of you who haven't had the opportunity to meet Brent personally, he is the face of the entire team that keeps this engine running in the background. We bring to you professional development, content information. We bring to you the ins and outs, but he and his team of wonderful folks, they're the engine that connects with our Pearson VUE partner for smooth operation of both the education side and the operational side. So thanks, Brent. I want to share with you today what we're going to talk about in the next 45 minutes or so. I have a lot of things we want to talk about. We are going to explore the growth and successes for the past year for not only our students who have made tremendous growth under very difficult circumstances, but our GED educators and administrators and our GED test administrators. You are all the family that makes the outcomes for students possible. To do that, we're going to discuss how GED Testing Service has grown to better serve its clients with the enhancements to our existing programs and the creation of some new programs that I think you'll find very interesting. We also will explore, and you're going to learn what's on the horizon to further enhance the student and educator experience at GED Testing Service and across the Pearson group and family we're a part of. Our theme is always learning. And if you're not always learning, you can't be creating these new experiences. So we're going to be very pleased to share them with you. Before we dig into that, I always find when I do these types of workshops, people want to know what's going on in my state. We'll talk a little bit about national, but you are a part of the national spectrum as one of our top 5 states for testing volume, the number of students enrolled. So what the California data tells us so far, in fiscal year 2021-22, we had the following outcomes. We had 14,910 test takers. And a lot of more tests were taken because each one of them was taking 3 or 4 tests, but you had 14,910 unique individuals coming into the system. Of that number, 8,720 of them completed all 4 tests. They may not have passed all 4, but they took all 4 content area tests. Of that number, 6,562 students passed their GED, passed the test to earn the GED credential. That gives the state of California a 75% rate in passage of the test. And that is a very good and standard. I mean, it's better than average, and it is better on this new test than the state of California ever had on a previous version of the GED testing series. And I think that's important to know. One of the things that's of interest, and we're looking very happily to, 74% of the students who tested at an in-person test center location. So that tells me we're coming on the backside, thank goodness, of the pandemic shutdown. If 74% of the test takers, their testing location was an in-person test center on property. 26% of your test takers took the online proctored test, and we think that is a good, solid number. We're happy to have that option available for students, and we see that for about a fourth of your test takers, that was what their choice was. So that's a very good thing to know, that both of these forms of testing will be with us for quite some time. They are part of our regular program, but we never anticipate our in-person testing to be, of any lesser number or quality. People still like in-person testing, and we think that's a good thing. What that national and California data tells us, as of June 2022, in your state, there are over 200 active GED testing centers in California. Over 250 of you educators have accessed GED Manager through Prep Connect. We'll talk a little more about that later, but I'm thrilled to see the uptick. We can always have room for many, many more. And that's a question you need to go back and ask at each of your testing centers. Do I have educators accessing Prep Connect? And for all the benefits Brent will share with you later. Nationally, the good news for us as a national program, and for you as such a big part of that national program, is that our testing volumes appear comparable, finally, to where we were in 2019 before the pandemic, which was the last full year of testing under what we call normal conditions. One good piece of information that I am very happy to see and humbled to see is that in California, your testing volume has increased, but because you have options in the state, I'm very pleased to say that GED has seen about a 10% increase in the number of people selecting our test than we saw in 2019. From 2019, people had choices, and then in 2022, there's been a 10% increase in the overall volume of all testing, and it's gone GED, it has gone toward GED. So I think that's because of the good work you all have done at your testing centers and prep centers. Students have a choice, and you are helping them with whatever choice best suits their needs and has the best services available prior to testing and post-testing. And we thank you for your looking at us as a very viable option, as we can see by the increase in the number of people taking the GED test. We also think it's very important when we talk about data, as we were just talking on the previous slides, we want to talk about the data and make sure you understand that we know how important it is to you, the data that we house for you on the testing of the students and whether they passed or not, and a lot of other data that you have available to you in our demographic summary and so forth in GED Analytics. But that's also important because it bounces off and you have a way to compare what is happening with another form of testing that's very important, with the CASAS and the GED testing. CASAS conducted cooperative studies with the high school equivalency providers, and that did include your HiSET and GED at the time. I will tell you, I made this generic to GED out of professional courtesy. Our partners at HiSET are responsible for discussing their product. I do not think they would appreciate us sharing information on their behalf. And I appreciate the fact that they honor us with the same professional courtesy. They do not discuss GED outcomes and data, as it is not part of theirs. So that's why I didn't put anybody but GED here. Please understand it was a professional courtesy. But I do know that they do the same sort of work with HiSET, and you can certainly talk with them about the outcomes. But on the study that we conducted, it was a cooperative study with HSE providers. An adult learner's performance on CASAS reading and math, that's what we compared, predicts the readiness to pass the GED test. Results appearing on the individual skills profile of the CASAS test as likelihood of passing, that's where you're going to see the comparison. We also provide, by having GED data in GED Manager and your CASAS data, it provides you with a series of checks and balances to assure an accurate accounting of your students served and their progress. That's really important to you. Sometimes you may think, well, I see in GED Manager, I had more people passing, but they're not in my CASAS data. You work with CASAS, you work with GEDTS, and that's how you make sure you get an accurate accounting of your data, because I understand how important that is as a former state director in Louisiana, because it does affect your program stability and it affects your funding. So we're happy to be a part of that data that helps you connect to that most important piece of your program. We put a more detailed table in the notes, but I wanted to show you how they align the likelihood of passing the GED test based on CASAS math or Ready, or the GED goals scores, math or Ready goals scores. If you score in the CASAS, which is a diagnostic test, a 6, that is comparable to our GED readiness practice test, which is not a diagnostic. It assesses the readiness to take the GED test. A 6 on CASAS compares to our College Ready Plus credit score, which is explained on the table, of 175 to 200. A 5, which is your CASAS diagnostic, and that aligns to your National Reporting Survey score of 5, means they could be ready to test, but it's not a sure bet. And that is 165 to 174, which is our College Ready Plus credit. And our 4 means they can pass at high school equivalency level, 145 to 164. Again, I will direct you to the complete table in the notes, but again, I think it's important that you understand that we do talk to any of your data partners. We are sure that our services are aligned, and that should be a big comfort for you as you look at how do you mentor and guide your students as to whether they're ready to test or not, and to what their next goals are. So again, CASAS and the GED, this is the coordination for success. CASAS and the GED Ready test, you get a score report. You can look at those numbers in the score report. You have the CASAS skills profile and the GED operational exam, where you get the score report, okay? And in the NRS data delivered, that is very important. We also can tell you about the credential that is awarded. Just another way to show the coordination of CASAS with GED testing service. We're going to shift gears a little bit here. I like to talk about the growth mindset. I consider it these 3 blocks, and a growth mindset is where we have been. If you're still around, you have been working through a growth mindset from 2019, which was our last quote normal year, through the chaos and the learning and the curving and all of the new things we had to do, and found out our skill set was much greater than maybe we chose to stretch, but we stretched it anyway, to 2022. So let's talk about a growth mindset. I want to say we, all of us, have had that growth mindset success from the pandemic. For students and educators, it meant new teaching and learning models. We'll talk about those later. We also had new testing models. We thought we were a computer-based in the test center only test. And within 6 weeks of being shut down, we offered an online proctored test. So for students and educators, they had a lot to get used to, from in-person learning to virtual and hybrid, and from online proctored instead of walking into a test center. I want you to know what was in our growth mindset at GED Testing Service from the pandemic and how we moved along from this. We have a new program called GED Direct. It is an outgrowth of something that started during the pandemic, which was GED Ready Direct. And Brent is going to discuss these things with you. We have the GED Works, which was around, but boy, did we find a way to be responsive to the needs. And that's what you'll see. GED Plus, another response to a need. And it was in response to the need of the people that never set foot in your school. I always am mindful of this. Anytime we do products where students can buy direct, it is not about taking them out of your classroom. It is about helping that percentage of the students that can't get to a classroom. Spanish materials of instruction, we're going to share some exciting news with you on that. The 3 of 4 tests project, we just got back from our conference in Atlanta in mid-July, and we have had some local programs working very hard. And what do you do with the thousands of students? And in your state, I know there are about 10,000 people who have passed 3 of 4 tests. We're going to come to you with some solutions and exciting ways that we think you can do locally to help you get those students in and get them credentialed. We also have some monitoring test center and testing availability options to help you know what's going on in your test centers and to help you maybe beef up adding testing. And I want to share with you some of the really deep and meaningful things we've been doing as a company on all of our fronts on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So with that said, the first thing we're going to talk about, because so many of the things I listed there have their grounding or beginning or are monitored in our GED Manager, our very robust database that we developed at GED Testing Service. And that is one of the reasons I have Brent here. He is the keeper of all knowledge. He's also the innovator and creator with his team. So with this, Brent, I would like to turn this over to you.
Thank you, Debbie. All right, so as Debbie introduced, thank you for the introduction. This is in my wheelhouse. I'm in GED Manager all day, every day. So this is where I live at. I'm really excited. I hope I can share some of the insights. My goal here today is really to highlight the areas that we have improved within the last couple of years since the pandemic and things that we offer to you, the educators, to really help your students take that next step in their educational careers. So with that, GED Manager, what is GED Manager? Well, GED Manager is a tool that we use, and really it's a tool for all of us to use to help our students, to manage our students and help them understand where they're at, whether it's through the age of the student or what they purchased, what the scores, what tests they've taken, the scores that they've, so all these things we can manage within the GED Manager tool. So the main roles I want to just highlight today is, so for GED Manager, we have the test administrators, which is a jurisdictional access. We have educators, which is GED Prep Connect, Student Authorized View, and the role corrections. So just to highlight a little bit about jurisdictional access, what is that? That would be more for the administrators of your state's program. They would have more of the elevated access roles to change a date of birth or view student information, simulate a student if they need to kind of see what they're seeing on their side. So it does have elevated access. A student authorized view role has access, but it doesn't have the ability to simulate. You are able to see a student reports that you can actually pull up students from your prep center that you can actually look at and understand where they're at in their journey. And then we have our corrections roles, and that's, as kind of the term implies, that's more for our state prisons, more the correction or inmate population that also uses the GED test to help them through their circumstances that they're in. Common capabilities across all 3 roles. So again, this is speaking about the student search. So as all 3 of the roles, you can do a student search, and we have different we have different filters that you can search on to pull the information that you're looking for, the student that you're looking for. The student test activity report, which I alluded to, as a jurisdictional user, you'd see the whole state's activity. As a student authorized viewer, you would have students from your specific test center region that you manage and that you're involved with. We also have the passes report, and again, that's a availability to see students from your area that their successes and areas that they're struggling with. You can see that from the passes report. Also, the student scores report, GD Ready and the GD operational test. There's another great advantage of the tool that's available to students as well as to administrators is to see their student score. The students can log into their account and they can actually see their GD Ready scores and see where they need to study, focus more of their time on studying. So that's a very valuable tool that we have available as well. The benefits of the GD Prep Connect. Now, Debbie mentioned this before. This such an important tool that we can't emphasize enough. If I could point you to the one thing on this slide, I think that GD Prep Connect, if you're not already using this program, it is so important for you to see and to access, because with this program, you have increased awareness of adult education programs with GED candidates, connect more students with programs to drive completion and success rates, promote local programs through GD.com, and improve adult education programs' access and management of student information. What this comes down to is this is a free marketing tool that you can use to help drive volume, drive eligible students in your area to your program and increase your program's effectiveness with those students. It's a wonderful way that we can use. And I've heard educators in the past have said, I can't believe this is free. Are you sure there's not a catch to this, that there's a secret charge that we're going to be making for you? And there's no, this program is available for you to help you manage your students and bring more awareness of the GED and everything that we have to offer to your students. Now, this one I'm really excited about. I want to make sure everybody understands what GED Direct is. Last year, we introduced GED Ready Direct, where we made the Ready test, as Debbie mentioned. The GED Ready is a predeterminant of the operational exam. It's a way that you can determine if you are how ready you are to take the operational exam. The GED Ready Direct is now GED Direct, the enhanced GED Manager tool. So this tool is available in GED Manager, again, for all our users that I mentioned before. So back in 2021, this tool was called GED Ready Direct. It was really focused just on the Ready exam and delivering that as a seamless way to avoid having to use vouchers. So let me explain a little bit more about what it was and what it is now in 2022, June 2022. In 2021, allowed educators to purchase the GED Ready tests and assign them directly to students. We accepted credit cards only and had the ability to share GED Ready tests between users. That still exists today, except we've enhanced it. Not only do we do the GED Ready, but we also now offer the GED operational exam. So as of June 23rd, 2022, allows educators to purchase GED Ready, GED exam in person, that's at a test center, and GED exam online. That's our online proctoring method that we introduced during COVID. Allows purchase with check, PO, or voucher. Provides pricing specific to jurisdiction. So all these, the pricing specific is not maybe as significant to you, but it is for us. I mean, we have a lot of different jurisdictions that use this tool, and we've been able to customize the pricing for everybody. So everybody can benefit from this. And it really is a seamless way that you can assign these tests, whether it be the ready or the in-person test. You can assign them directly to the student seamlessly. No managing vouchers, no worrying about expired vouchers, keeping spreadsheets. All that is seamlessly pushed to the student, and you can take it away if they're not active. You can also remove it from them. But it's a great way for us to offer that to them, where they can access it without having to, get a code wrong or using an expired code. So really excited about this one. So GD Direct benefits. Some of this I mentioned before, but the benefits: no spreadsheets or voucher codes to manage, no expiration dates to extend. And how it works is GD Manager has a added navigation bar and dashboard on our top of the page next to Student Search. You'll be able, or Manage Student, you'll be able to see the GD Direct tool there. Assign the GD Ready / GD Exam to the student, and available for specific GD Manager roles. As I mentioned before, the jurisdictional, student authorized view. So those roles. Now to change gears a little bit, I want to talk about GD Works, building a stronger workforce. So GD Works, growing and serving. So more than 75 participating companies have taken advantage of GD Works, and this is growing. It seems like every week we're getting a new announcement, and another company has been joined to the family, to the GD Works family. Number of GD advisors has increased 5-fold to serve participants. Our most recent addition is Amazon Career Choice. Very excited about this one. This is a big win for GD Works, and we're excited to have this partner part of our family of growing Works companies. Next thing is share the list with students who may already be employed or are seeking employment. They may be eligible. Use link and note-taking guide for the complete list of participating companies. Now, what I want to make sure I pinpoint here in this slide is that you have students that are either seeking work or are working at, there's a good chance some of them are working at one of these 75 and growing number of companies. There is a great opportunity for them to receive free testing. Let me repeat. So the GD Works program, they will pay for the student to test while they're paying them to work. It's a beautiful relationship there. We're trying to, the company is advocating for their student. The student is working for them and also growing within their educational needs. And it's just great to see so many companies that are seeing this light, and this, especially with the job market is today. This is a great opportunity for folks to grow in within their company. GD Plus, responding to a need, an all-inclusive study product for students modeled after GD Works. So what the GD Works was, we identified that some students who are not eligible or not available to participate in your adult education classes or amenities that you provide to them. Some students prefer a self-study, or they're forced to do a self-study. So what I want to mention mostly about GD Plus is that this product is kind of the brainchild of the GD Works program. So GD Works is what it does, and what GD Plus does is we have advisors. These advisors will give the student more of a custom approach to studying. They have full gamut of all the GD products that we offer, but some products may be better for others. Maybe there's a product that that they're not aware of. Maybe it's a partner of ours, like Fast Forward or KET, or some of our other publishing partners that we have. it's the advisor's job to find out how the student learns best and help customize their studying. They still have to do the work. But this is another opportunity for our students to get the access that they need if they can't get that from an adult education center like what you provide to them. So additional tools for success, creating pathways to positive student outcomes. As I was mentioning with the GD Plus, we have a lot of partners. We have a lot of partners that have helped GD become what it is. I think we are very proud to have Aztec, Kaplan. We have so many different groups out there, KET, there's Smart Thinking. We have so many different groups out there that help us manage the offering of what we can offer our students. And now Aztec Spanish GD Prep is now available. So official partnership with the GD testing service, designed from scratch to the Spanish GED test. Aztec learning system in Spanish, complete Spanish audio. It's content GD testing service content aligned, and Aztec is the GD testing service only preferred partner for the Spanish GED test. That's very important that this, as you know, we have Spanish speakers that need to access our content. And so Aztec has done a great job in helping us bridge that gap from English, specific only English, to now offering this really in Spanish to help our multilingual or just our Spanish speaking population. So additional study materials that we have available, GD Live, which is a online course you can sit in with an instructor. You can ask questions offline. If you can take that and watch it at your leisure, you can send them emails. There's also GD Flash, which is kind of like a flashcards. If you remember in grade school, there's flash, people doing grade school and high school, math flashcards or some, any type of flash that the repetition really helps them with that. So that's something mobile and that they can do right on their phone, right when they're ready to learn. It's right there at their fingertips. GD Play, which is short recorded videos that they can save and watch again at their leisure. It doesn't take a long time to devote to your learning, but it is available for those short periods of time that they need that training. GD Marketplace, and that's really just a place where students can go and purchase, and we have our team there, our Marketplace team that's available for our users to go and purchase items like study materials, could be books, could be online tools. And then all this is locate free GD classes near you. Really what we try to do is filter our students to you so they can actually find you, search for you, and then have the information to go and receive training from you and from your expertise in helping them learn. Free student resources. So we also have within our computer-based testing as well as our online testing, we have ways that you can use our online tools to help you learn and get to where you need to be for either your operational exam or the ready exam. So the calculator tutorial, computer-based test tutorial, free practice tests. Also, we have study guides in English and Spanish, mathematical reasoning, language arts, social studies, and science. Now I believe I will pass this over to Debbie, who will be talking a little bit more about the professional development, operations to content, and points in between. Take it away, Debbie.
Thank you, Brent. Now you can understand why I wanted Brent to be here to speak about so many of the things that he works directly with and is a great partner to those of us who are state relationship managers. When he says he's working in GED manager all day, I know that he is, because when we ask questions, he's there to answer them for us. So just so you know who we're leaning on as we're working for you. But as I mentioned earlier, I also work with the professional development um, initiative with GED Testing Service. And I like to say we cover everything from operations, what's in Brent's wheelhouse, to test content. We work with our test assessment people, Marty Kay and his team, and all points in between. And many of us kind of fit into those all points in between. What I always say is, as a state relationship manager for the state of California, it's not that I have the answer to every question, but I have a pretty good idea who I need to go to get your questions answered, whether that's from our Pearson VUE partners, whether it's to Brent so his team can troubleshoot it, or whether it's to Marty Kay on the assessment team. One of those three groups is going to answer my question and help me get back with you. One of the major things that some of you have some understanding of is our Tuesdays for Teachers. During the pandemic, we realized that every other month was not enough. People were needing information and help. And so for the past year and a half, we have done a Tuesdays for Teachers every month. I will tell you that, as my slides earlier said, we're getting more back to a little more normalcy. Beginning in the fall of this year, we will go back to an every other month. Doesn't mean we may not do a special session as it's needed. What we find with our operations people, with CT Turner, there are informational things, and we may do a spot check. But as far as content aligned, things that are on teachers' minds, our Tuesdays for Teachers will go back to an every other month format beginning in the fall. What I want you to know about Tuesdays for Teachers is make sure you look in the note-taking guide. I know we have more information about the recent schedule of Tuesdays for Teachers. What's important for you to know is that we have every one of these hour-and-a-half sessions are archived going back to 2015. We have culled out the list since 2015. We don't have everything we've done since then because some of them are no longer relevant. But anything of substance or value that we've done since 2015, you will find the most recent 8 to 10 workshops. And recently, those 8 to 10 workshops, if you're an educator, you really want to go back and at least pull down the PowerPoint deck, because we had Marty's team who had done exhaustive research and figured out what students were having the most challenges with. Marty doesn't like for me to call them the most missed test items, but I don't know how you say most challenging without making that connection. But at any rate, if you want to get some real understanding of things that you want to make sure you focus on in each four of the content areas, go on our website. Make sure you look at the things that were done from September of this past year, September of 21, and we just finished in June with the science skills gaps. Where are the skills gaps occurring on this test in science? So Tuesdays for Teachers, they are on our website under the professional development bar. You all know how to go to the educators and administrators tab, then go to professional development, go to webinars. That's where they're listed, the first 8 or 10, as I said. And if you scroll to the bottom and it says you need to see more, you click on that, and there's a list. We post them to a YouTube account after that. And if you go to YouTube, you can do GED Testing Service on YouTube, and that will take you to our YouTube page, and you can find the Tuesdays for Teachers there. Lots of materials are connected. I urge you. And also make sure you are signed up for our in-session monthly newsletter, because when you sign up for the in-session monthly newsletter, we automatically put you on the invitation list for Tuesdays for Teachers. Sometimes that's not enough. You need to check your spam. Your filters at your schools are very good, and very often they will throw you into spam, throw our emails into spam. What we tell a lot of people, use your personal email to sign up for in-session. That way you'll always be on the mailing list. And last word of advice, If you don't know how to sign up, look at the bottom of every darn page we have in the Educator and Administrators tab on our GED.com website. The bottom of every page, we say, sign up for the in-session newsletter. You click on it and you register. I think it's really important to go over some of the tools for success. The work I've done with Marty's team over the last year has reminded me that we have everything we need to understand how to prepare students for the test and to get them through the test experience, whether you're an educator or a test administrator. These are your, I would say, this is your keys to the kingdom right here. You have to be accessible. And I will tell you, from the things that they came up with that were skills gaps, I went back and I looked over the things I will admit I hadn't looked at closely since 2014, 15, 16, when we were really in the throes of teaching everybody in the field about how to prepare students for the test. And then we forgot. I've been around 12 years, but many of you in this audience have not been in adult ed since this test changed. And we were talking all the time about these products. You need to go find them if it's your first look, and they're all on the website. And I will be happy to make sure the note-taking guide has the link for every one of these on the website in the note-taking guide. But this circle, if we start to the left, that is the beginning of how the test was put together, the assessment guide for educators. If you haven't spent time looking at this, that's where you know where the stuff to teach is, okay? The assessment guide is broken up into each of the 4 content areas. And if you really want to dig in, get to the appendices in the back because they have the sub-content areas. If you really want to know where the majority of the test is, in science or social studies, because you're worried about teaching some of these, how do you cover this much material? It's laid out for you right back there. That's how you cut to the chase. And what, if I'm preparing students for a portion of what they would have learned in 4 years, how do I decide what that is? Go look and we tell you what we think was important. That's what you want to be teaching. The assessment guide to educators is the overarching tool. From that assessment guide, we gleaned out the performance level descriptors. That also is a link on the GED.com website. Performance levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. We don't talk much about 1 because that's below passing, but you have to know the skills in 1 to be ready to do the other things. And if you pass levels 1 and 2, you're going to pass the test. Skills level 3, that's college and career ready. Skills level 4, college career ready plus credit. We can explain all of those to you, but that's the core of what you teach. When you have taught it, you then send students to the GED Ready exam, the practice test. Keep in mind the language we use in the assessment guide, the performance level descriptors, the high impact indicators, which is just a distilled version of the performance level descriptors, because we realize that in every content area, there are 4 or 5 indicators in science that are very similar to 4 or 5 indicators in reading, such as chronology of events, timelines, things like that. So you get some transferability across content areas in what you teach when you use the high impact indicators. All of the language from assessment guide, PLDs, as we describe them, high impact indicators, the GED Ready, the GED Ready score report, the GED Ready exam. They are all written in the same terminology and language, and that's what's so important for you. And don't forget the important part of the score report and is the electronic scoring tool that you can use for grading the student's essay only in the GED Ready test, okay? We can't show you what they write on the exam because then we'd be giving away a test question. But you can score that and that's where it is. Very important tools for success. Please revisit and refresh your knowledge. We also want you to tell us how we can support you. We attend state, regional, and district conferences. We also do content and operational specific sessions for districts or schools. We can do research and observations. We do research and observations, the math, RLA, science, and social studies test. We also can help you understand how to navigate the tools and resources in GED Manager, in analytics, and in accommodations. We get a lot of questions about how do our students apply for accommodations. I and my colleagues will do small group Q&A sessions with you. There's nothing I enjoy more than someone's local PD meeting. You bring all your teachers in for a session once a month and you tell them, bring your GED questions to the session. I'll be glad to get on the phone with you, talk 15 minutes out of your 1 hour of PD. Be mindful and use us as a resource. There is never a reason to not have an answer questioned about how you do something or what's the effect, or here's a rumor I'm hearing, tell me what you need to know. We offer phone support in many ways. Here are some observations. These are my observations in working specifically with the state of California, how we can work together to better serve our students. We have adult education and testing center initiatives, and I did tell you about that. We know that there are 3 or 4 subtests are passed by more than 10,000 students in your state. Thousands of students in each state have passed all but one subtest. Let's get those students through the door, and we can show you how to identify them, and we can share with you what some states are doing. I have talked with your state director. We are very eager to look at what some other states have done and figure out which one of those initiatives might work best in California. More news to come. But GED Manager right now will provide you a report for the 3 of 4 subtests taken by students at your testing center. You don't have to wait for us, but we are going to offer some help. Test center access. This is something else that's in Brent's wheelhouse that we need to do. GED Testing Service monitors the test availability at each testing center. Brent sends us a wonderful report. If you are aware, sometimes I don't know I do know all 200 test centers, but I don't know the day-to-day activity or what their calendars say, even though Brent has access to a report that tells him this. If you as an educator are having issues and students are telling you they're having to book 2 months out at a test center, let us know. We're happy to reach out and have a discussion with that testing center. You all know if you are testing centers that need to expand, we're happy to work with you to see how we could accommodate that. Or if you can't, let us know, and we're happy to see if we can get another test center operational in your area to help you with your bandwidth. It's not an onus on a testing center of you all who are test administrators in this audience. It's simply, if this is the situation, it's all about the students. If you're not able to increase your bandwidth, and we understand that with staffing, tell us and let us work with you and see what else we can do to help get testing expanded, whether we have some creative ideas for your center or we need to help you not take away from what you do, but look for another area to test in. Underage students, we work with a lot of these issues. If you're an underage student, you must meet one of the following additional requirements. In other words, there's a way for an underage student to test. We have to make sure you know it. We understand the state rules, and you can find these under the California policies at GED.com. Left-hand toolbar, state policies. Click it open and click on California, and we have a line that answers questions about what do you do with underage students. They must be within 60 days of their 18th birthday, regardless of their school enrollment status. They have to be 17 years of age or have been out of school for at least 60 consecutive days. And they provide a letter of request for the test from either the military, a post-secondary educational institution, or prospective employer. In other words, if they're within 60 days and they bring to your test center a letter from one of these three that says, we want him in the military, I want him working here, or he's accepted into my college, for those testing on the we will, as a test center administrator, you go into GED Manager and you clear the age alert. Don't keep the letter, don't do anything, send the person back home, let them then go. When you clear the alert, they can go ahead and schedule, okay? For those testing on the online exam, they have to be 18 or older, 17 with the CDE approval, and must have a parent or guardian be present at the pre-test check-in. That's just something you have to know about the difference between testing in the center and an online test, okay? What happens with underage students? What happens if a student is underage and is more than 60 days from their 18th birthday? There is a possible remedy for this, and we need administrators and educators to know this, because if you know there's a possible remedy, it's going to stop these students trying to do shopping out of state for a place where they think they can take the test. It always causes a problem. We'll talk about that a little bit, but number one, make sure you pass down the line to your educators. If you got a student who is more than 60 days, you still are not shut out from trying to get them tested. Under special circumstances, the California Department of Education can grant underage students approval to take the test on a case-by-case basis. So what do? You've got a student and you think there's some extenuating circumstances. Special request for underage California students. There's a partnership between the CDE and GEDTS. The California Department of Education, the student will submit documentation to the high school equivalency office. So that's what you do. You submit the documentation. There's some valuable reason why you think this kid needs to take the test. We don't want to slow up a person moving forward in their life if it's reasonable, not just because they don't want to wait that long, but it's a problem. They may need to get out of a terrible situation and so forth. Student must submit documentation to the HSE office. The HSE office will review the circumstances of the request, and the HSE office will approve or deny the request. If it is approved, the HSE office will contact GED Testing Service. This is when Brent and his team go to work. GED Testing Service will contact the students to determine where and when they want to test. GED will notify the testing center of the date and time when the student will test and other testing specifics. We don't want the student to have a glitch when they show up because the test center administrator sees that they're underage. The GED operations team will manage post-testing system edits that we have to make. You don't need to know the sausage making. You just need to know that we will manage the edits to ensure that the student receives an accurate credential. The credential issuance is done appropriately. Very important, please know this. Also, we're seeing a lot of mistakes made by students. California does have a residency requirement. Does a test taker need to provide proof of California residency? Yes. There are 11 bulleted examples of documentation that will provide residency on the GED website and under the California state policy page. Again, go to the policy page. Look at the first 11 bullets, then look at the 12th bullet on California residency requirements. The 12th bullet reads, completion of the California High School Equivalency Declaration of California Residency. We will have a copy of this in English and Spanish in the note-taking guide. Basically, if they can't qualify as a resident on the other ways, they can turn in this declaration which says, I intend to be a resident of California. That's basically what they're saying. It will approve them. They get approved, and then they can test. There is no reason for a student to start shopping for out-of-state requirements. read the requirement. If you can't meet the first 11, do the 12th bullet, fill out that declaration of California residency, you will test in California. GED diversity, equity, and inclusion work, very important. I want you to know it has been it was a time for a lot of inward reflection for us as individuals and organizations, and I'm so proud that the testing service has delved deeply into this. Our 2022 update, just some bullets of what we've done, and I'm happy to discuss it with any of you. Our internal discussions, our focus groups and committees that we've had, our diverse leadership and representation through recruitment, hiring, and employee development. We have external partnerships and alliances with far more diversified groups because we understood, we took a look at ourselves, and we are out there in so many more places that have made us a much richer organization. And our culturally competent marketing, communications, and social impact. And one thing that's so truly important, I don't think you understand the depth that we have always had in every part of our test development, our test items, for our culturally diverse, our non-biased items. That is an everyday function in our organization. Thank you. We want to stay connected. help@gedtesting.com. Brent, would you like to give a farewell, and we will sign off from this presentation.
Thank you for your attention and all your work to help us make the most impact to our students. Thank you very much.